Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jet Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Welcome to Side Quests, your high octane distraction from those other podcasts. We're a pen and paper RPG audio show featuring chatter about rules, how to master them, epic world building, player investment, and interviews with the people who make the games you love. Listen in as we trade tabletop war stories, make judgment calls on odd situations, and do every single thing we can to give you more RPG resources than you could dream of, all from a simple side quest. I am one of three paladins of podcast. I am Craig.
I'm still Rob.
On into podcast number 3, Eli. Huzzah. Hi.
What you got, Eli?
Well, this week I had a awesome session. I really love dungeon delving, not just dungeon delving, but like cave exploration. And so that's what we did last session, and it was awesome.
What spooky things did your players find in the depths of the earth?
Well, one of them was a little bit of a classic, yellow mold. Are either of you familiar with yellow mold?
So I confuse yellow mold and brown mold in the classic mode. One of them is super weirdly endothermic or exothermic. One of them gets really cold.
That's brown mold.
Brown mold. Okay, and then the other one is just like you have mesothelioma now, right?
Yeah, it's pretty awful. If it gets, at least in Hackmaster, if it gets into your lungs, you're basically pretty much screwed.
Maybe entitled to compensation.
Yeah, you start like coughing, and you're just gonna get eaten alive by yellow mold. I think in D&D there's even like yellow mold zombies of like when the yellow mold will take over a creature.
If it wins, you go mobile. So, but like, how how bad is it in DCC? Like, is it just like, oh, failed your save, roll a new dude, my guy, like.
In basically until you get a curative spell cast on you, which it's a low magic system, so to have the type of curative spells, it's pretty high level. You start taking 1 hit point every 6 hours.
Oh, okay.
And just like, and while you have it, like you have like coughing fits and like basically it's just awful. You just slowly die.
All right.
But if you fail this, like if you succeed the save, like the spores will get on your clothing.
Oh man.
And it'll start to eat into your clothing, eat away like your armor. And if you don't like wash it away with soap, you'll start to get irritations, and then it'll start to hurt you until you wash it off with soap. So it can kill you both ways.
That's a lot to track.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's not like it becomes the most pressing problem that the party is facing. What we were doing before, I got to deal with this.
And so my party stumbled upon a cavern that was half filled with yellow mold.
Ooh.
And they were just like, "Oh, awesome!" And one of them decided to just go up and start picking mold.
Did they know what it was?
One of them did, and. Like, so monster lore in this game is you roll, and if you succeed, like roll under your save, you get full knowledge of or you get knowledge of what it is. But if you fail by a little bit, you'll get false information.
Oh boy.
So one of their players succeeded, one of the players got a false answer. So one knew that it was a yellow mold and it was hazardous, and the other was like, might not be so bad. And so just a totally different player from those two walked up and just picked a mushroom or like picked up some mold. And I think 3 players in total got hit by it. All of them made their saves, which was great. I thought that was awesome. But the player that took the yellow mold put it into a glass container and has expressed to me their interest to make a yellow mold tea.
A tea, you say?
Tea. And I'm pretty glad that they told me their intentions beforehand, because I'm not quite sure what I would have done if one player had taken a yellow mold tea and then gave it to another player in the same session, because that would have been chaos.
Well, I don't know. Maybe boiling it attenuates the horribleness, and you end up with a funky fresh batch of kombucha. I don't know what happened.
So that, and then the session ended. So the
All
session
right.
ended just right after that. And so the player was like, "Hey, I'd like to make tea sometime with this." And I was like, "Oh, thanks for telling me. See you next week. Bye."
Okay.
So my question to you guys is, let's say that the session doesn't end there. If you have a yellow mold, one of your players takes it, makes a tea to give to another player. How are you going to are you going to call for checks to see if it's still lethal? How would you guys handle that?
Before we go down that path, I want to ask this question: do those players listen to our show at all? Any of them?
I don't think they might.
Well, if they currently
will warn
are,
them.
they should stop listening.
Yes.
Right, because I
Just
think we
for now,
should.
come back later. But
I think we should explore it all the way to the end. Give them a bunch of different possibilities, Eli, for something for you to sift through. So if they do listen, they don't know which route you're going to go.
I think my players are like they're. I think my players are good enough that even if they listen to this podcast, they wouldn't bring it up
Okay.
in character. So
let us
Okay.
Which I am
cast this
blessed
concern
by.
from our heads.
Rock on.
Rob, what do you think?
Well, the two things that initially came to mind were like a puffer fish. If it's prepared correctly, it is not lethal. And the other thought that came to mind was the opposite of your kombucha comment, Greg, that boiling it would increase its potency and toxicity.
Yes, that was my 2 thoughts as well, because I was like, does cooking things make things more or less lethal? And then
Yes, it can.
yeah,
What are you thinking of that you cook it and it gets worse?
Rice, for example, if you cook rice and then it sits out after it's been cooked, a bacteria begins to grow in it and can kill you within 7 days.
Okay,
And
but
and if you eat it cold after it's been cooked.
it's rice in general if you eat it cold.
No. If it's raw, it's
just
fine.
Just after the raw. Okay.
It has to
okay,
be
but
cooked.
that's food poisoning, right? Though that's like a bacteria.
No.
Like, there's no inherent quality to the rice that is then making it is made poisonous by cooking it.
It is only done by cooking it, and it's not just food poisoning. It's really weird. It's like
Is it a bacteria?
it's like a fungus or bacteria that eventually hits the brain.
I think we can just take your word for it and be terrified of rice now.
It's
Like citation needed, my friend. I don't know. I remain unconvinced, but I'm skeptical by nature.
here's a February 22nd, February 24th, 2022 article. Hours after the leftovers from a restaurant, 19-year-old was admitted to the hospital with multiple organ failure and later had both his legs and all of his fingers amputated.
Wait a minute. No, hold on. What is this source? What is this source?
Jesus
It's
Christ.
Hold
written
on.
by. It's from USA Today.
Let me link this. I want to know what the hell they found in that rice.
Wait, we need to toss an explicit warning on this. This is
Yeah,
gruesome.
it's not the first case that it's happened in. It's not the only one.
What is this?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out if I need to vastly update my understanding of rice. What?
Meningococcal.
Hold on. Meningococcal purpura fulminant disease?
Yeah.
Rare complication that comes with purpura fulminans. This is not common. Hold on.
Common? No. But It's one of those things that yeah, it can totally happen, and it's only with cooked food. And this one is uh, experts have warned against the dangers of improperly storing leftover rice because items such as rice and pasta contain a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Cereus, sir. I don't know. I cannot pronounce medical terms. The bacteria produces a toxin when heated and left out for too long.
Okay. I believe this happened, but I am not ready to attribute this to beware rice, it will kill you.
No, I don't want to scare. Like I said, I don't want us to have a rice scare, but the yellow fungus. I'm
Okay,
thinking
all right, all right.
absolutely more toxic.
Listeners, write in with your favorite food poisoning variety.
So I will be scared of eating.
So, Rob,
Yeah.
you have evidence going in both directions.
Um,
In the moment, how would you have handled it?
in the moment, I think I would have said yes and probably go the kombucha route with a small caveat.
What is
Does
the
he-
kombucha route?
Like Craig had mentioned, if they do it upright, it's more like a fermented drink. It's not going to kill them.
Okay.
But do they have enough skill in either harvesting or crafting this type of drink? How do they a skill in preparing food? I would definitely attach some kind of skill roll to it.
So what
but
if
like,
they failed that skill roll? Would it still have been poisonous?
well, if you misprepare a puffer fish, it still kills you or gets close to getting really sick.
Sweet.
So I love the idea of cooking the weird crap you find in a dungeon. Usually I think it's a fun idea because it's either desperation where the party has to make some interesting choices like, well, we killed these 3 monsters and they haven't gone to rot obviously yet. Which one are we going to try to eat? And I also like it in the idea of like, yeah, we killed this fearsome thing, and legend says if we eat its brain glands, then we'll get its weird brain powers. Maybe, who knows? Um, but like even before that, um, do you think this player was trying to make a poison and then give it as poison to another player? Do you think that this was essentially a PvP thing? Do you think that it was just, hey, let's do it for laughs and see what happens? Like, what do you think their motivations were?
Well, their motivations aren't like necessarily PvP, because it might end up turning that way. But a couple sessions ago, this player had a feud with one of the NPC characters.
Uh-huh.
So the party can basically hire and bring along a bard and that like can boost up their fame.
Yeah, makes
And,
them more famous, right? I think you mentioned this.
And so at one point they were fleeing through a camp of cultists on a wagon, and the bard was trying to hop up onto the wagon, and the other player pushed the bard off, and the bard got pissed.
The bard's the NPC, right?
The bard's the NPC.
Okay.
And
why was this done? Was this necessary, or they're like, haha, poot?
It's hilarious.
yeah, it just happened.
Eli's got no answers. Like
their reasoning
that bard.
Their reasoning was that they were trying to save space for another character who was not trying to get on the wagon at that time.
I think the real question is how many sociopaths are hiding in your party here?
He might want it later.
There might be a few. They all show up consistently, so there's something weird about them. Yeah.
Nice.
But
okay, so
there's a little bit of
the harvester was pissed at the guy who booted the bard. The guy who booted the bard off the wagon.
No, the harvester is the one who booted the bard off the wagon, and now that the bard got pissed at them, because the bard to get back on pulled that character off the wagon.
Okay.
And they got left in the dust. And had to be like rescued by the other character with a horse. So there's a little bit of a feud going on there. And so this character wants, I think, to kill the bard.
So we're thinking like makeup tea, and said makeup tea is just going to kill him or have a negative reaction somehow.
They're hoping.
Wait. I thought that the person who harvested the mold wanted to give it to another player, but it's not that case. Do you think they're probably going to give it to an NPC?
It'll probably also be offered to players.
Oh, wow. Okay. And
probably indirectly. And the reason why is because we've got several characters who are very like, oh, yeah, I'll eat that. Whatever. Cool. Oh, there's a stew on the table? I'm getting in it.
So
Food? Let's eat it.
your
Oh
players,
no.
from what I'm understanding,
Oh no.
are reckless at this point.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now,
Look,
go ahead, Greg.
what I was gonna say is, look, you can tell players, hey, use your head. This is a world where things happen and actions have consequences. They can be like, yeah, totally. Actions totally have consequences. You get it. And then sometimes you can say, before you on the table is a potion of bleach. It's clearly marked. You know what bleach is. What do you want to do with it? And the entire party will turn to you and say, I chug the potion of bleach. And you'll even say, are you sure? And they will say, I cannot get this thing down my throat fast enough. Is there any more? And at that point, they drank bleach. That's the end of it. That's
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think I gotta ask, their recklessness, is it a cultivated behavior that you have fostered, or is it just kind of something that's flown under the radar enough that it hasn't been too much irritation that at this point now, like, you can get them for being reckless?
Well, pretty much everything that they do, which is amazing, is in their characters, like is from their character's stint or like from their point of view. So a lot of their recklessness, like usually like they'll kind of do it on purpose so that they can have that kind of learning moment. And like their characters will then change and get better and smarter. Um,
Sounds like yellow fungus tea is a learning moment.
yeah. So I don't think it's like they're not intentionally trying to cause chaos amongst each other. So
Fair.
So, okay. If this was as I first thought it was, incorrectly, one player harvesting stuff that was extremely dangerous and was about to feed it to another player who could not reasonably in character say, "Oh, I don't know that's dangerous. I'm not going to drink it." They'll be like, "Yeah, thanks for the drink, man." And then they drink it and then they die. I'd be like, "Whoa. That's like a violation of what everybody agreed to do, which is show up and play a game together and not like do weird backstabby PvP stuff. Generally, the assumption is the party's going to work together. So if that's not the case, that's one thing. But if you think that it's going to happen anyway, where somebody's like, if a player character would have to break the fourth wall to turn to somebody else sitting at the table and say like, "Hey man, it feels like you are abusing our in-character lack of knowledge to produce a situation which you know is going to harm everyone here. So, assuming any of us survive, you'll probably have to be ready for the bunch of us being like, hey, asshole, you just tried to poison us to death. Prepare to meet your god and be cool with that." And like, if everyone's on the same page with that, that's fine. But like, I would be worried that somebody who thinks, haha, let's poison the party for a laugh, might not be emotionally prepared for the entire party to turn around and be like, get the hell out of here. This is not going to fly. How do you think that's going to play out? I would very much want to avoid that really unpleasant, not character versus character, but player versus player interaction. That's for you. What do you think
yeah,
about that?
there is like that's. I feel like this is kind of the entire point of running a multiple alignment party is not necessarily to have the player versus player action, but to have these like morals clash in the party. So like where this character feels like they've been wronged by this NPC, and so their character's reaction is to try to poison and essentially kill that character. And we've had some confrontations already, or not confrontations, but interactions where players are like, "Why do you think that's okay? Like, what are you doing? Like, no, you can't just kill this person." And so,
And those didn't come to blows over somebody dying?
um, we haven't had anyone kill anyone on purpose yet.
What a qualified statement.
That's funny.
What if somebody whoops, I slipped on that knife 9 times.
uh, there's arrow. Like, so the game has penetrating dice that can explode.
Okay.
and there was
They,
one
like,
incident.
fire a bow into melee or something.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And they had just like the most insane luck, and it just killed them.
Wow.
Wait, they shot a bow into combat, and it went through the target and did so much damage that it hit a PC and it killed the other PC on the other side of the guy.
No, it just missed the enemy and hit the PC
Oh.
and just
Oh.
killed the PC.
Oh,
Oh man,
damn.
that's funny. But those
So-
are what
That
you
stopped
deal
them
with.
from shooting into melees where they were in.
So, but like that's my
Lesson learned.
question here. Like, when that happened, were any of the players that you've talked about already, involved in that interaction?
Yeah.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Was Mushroom? Oh, okay. This is
common
Oh, boy.
behavior, Craig.
Oh,
This
no.
Is,
Oh,
this
no.
Is, they know what they're doing at this point. They all signed up for it. They know what's going to happen.
I guess my question is: was anyone real butthurt about that exchange? Were there serious salty feelings about that, or were they like, "Ha, that's ridiculous. Let me roll up a new character"?
They came back for another game. I'm assuming that one.
Okay, but
They
I wanna know.
They had other characters. There was like a few moments of like, I can't believe you did that. Why were you shooting into melee? Oh my god! I can't believe how many penetrations was it?
More
fucking hate
incredulity
you.
than genuine anger.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like all right. It sounds like everyone's on board. Like, basically, if I thought that it would generate genuine bad blood out of character, then I would probably like say, "Whoa, hold on." Everyone involved has to know what's going on here and say, "Yeah, I'm cool with that possible outcome." And once they say that, Godspeed. Do whatever you're gonna do.
I agree
But-
with that too.
Yeah, without that very clear prior interaction, and where they're like, "Yeah, I'm okay with this," then I'd be like, "All right, hold on, we got to talk about this out of character." I have never had in any of my groups at all that I can remember ever a player who was willing to initiate violence against another player's character. Okay, I am talking about characters here. Nobody ever, started throwing punches at my table, in real life. But I've never had a player's character attack another player's character and have it go well when both of them were not into that. It's always turned into a mess if it's been like non-consensual PvP. So I'm eager to hear your story of this not being a hot mess.
Yeah. One thing that I do is between sessions, I always talk to the parties involved. So since the session ended, I was able to, talk to the player that did that, kind of have a discussion, like figure out what their intentions were and like, what they were looking to do. And then I was also able to talk to other players who might get affected by that. I don't think that there's going to be anyone who they're going to just offer it to other players. But I mean, we've had other situations that have been like where, like, boundaries we might be getting near boundaries, and I just always talk to the players. We always do a little chat at the very beginning to see, status updates. But yeah, I talk to my players to make sure that they're on board with whatever happens, or if there's anything that they're really like trying to avoid. So
Fair enough.
I think how you handle it on the DM side is absolutely splendid. I think the scenario is hilarious. They sound like a great group of guys, like guys I'd play with. Like the arrow instance, it'd be a moment of like, I fucking hate you. Let me put my backup character. Like I would just have it prepared at this point. As for how to handle it, it can go so many different routes. I guess it depends on your preference if it's going to be a learning moment for one party member or the entire party, and what kind of fallout you want from that. And I think that the potential fallout will be ridiculously fun either way. Especially if
I've
it's
also
negative.
had we've also had characters retire because of like splits in a party's opinions. So like the party will go on an adventure, and either the end of the adventure or some part of the adventure might have like a moral dilemma, or like some people, like some of the party might be like, "Oh, kill the merchant," and the others like, no, he was the one who was in the right the whole time. So like, we've had situations where the party has split, and like some of the party will be like, all right, perfect. This is when I wanted to retire the character, so they'll just leave and take this other person's side and depart the party, and then the party will continue on. Um, I ran a campaign that lasted for about a year, where the first half had a party conflict, and then the second half of the year turned into the two parties waging just like a guerrilla war
Oh wow.
against each other and like hunting each other down. And
Oh my
That's
god.
funny.
It
That's
really sounds
funny.
like your players hold on very loosely to their characters, which is it's something of great interest to me. If you're playing a game that's high lethality, how long would you say? Um, so okay, couple of questions. When you're running your game, and for the system that you're specifically using, um, do you bring characters in at the starting level, like the lowest level, or do they come in at the rest of the a level closer to the rest of the party?
they come in at starting level.
Okay. Uh, how long does it take to roll up an average character at starting level in Hackmaster?
Oh, probably to start, if you're completely new to the system, it'll probably take 2 hours. Um,
Sorry, if you know what you're doing.
um, Probably for the average player about an hour, but I can do it in probably 30 minutes or less.
So
It's experience.
Yeah,
the
just
the common wisdom that I thought was true up to this point, and this is an example that's outside of that, is that for a game that has very high lethality where death is common, you're going to suffer a lot if your character creation process is not very fast, so that the sting of losing your character isn't immediately ameliorated by producing a new one very quickly. A lot of BX stuff is super easy. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be a fighter, great, done. I'm going to be a wizard, okay, cool, one spell, the end. Um, do you just have super enthusiastic players? I mean, what do you think about that? Do they
um,
show up with like a six pack of backups? Like, how's this go?
we haven't
Six
had a
backup
lot.
backups.
Yeah, we haven't ever had a situation like that, or a lot of. We haven't actually had a lot of character deaths on the main storyline that we play, but we play like side adventures with lower level characters just to test either adventures or to give their proteges some experience. And that one's pretty high death because they'll just play on the extreme edge of reckless just to test out abilities or concepts or like how things work. So we do get a lot of deaths from that, but in the main campaign, there hasn't been an extreme amount.
So, what do you think is the crux of why they seem so cavalier with retiring characters, starting a new one, having them die, moving something else in? It seems like they just play it real cool. Where do you think that comes from?
Um, I think it it's a little bit more like
Or have I read it
it's
wrong?
it's kind of like are either of you fans of Pokemon?
I've played a Mon or two, sure.
I know the
Have
main character's name is Ash.
or in any video games, do you guys play with like? Do you ever play the games and then restart them if a permanent character dies?
No.
Like, do you ever
I
play
mean,
with like weird, arbitrary, like hard settings like that?
Yes.
They
is this like a Nuzlocke run? I barely know about this stuff. Where it's like any Pokemon that you've got that gets knocked out is considered permanently dead. You can't ever use them again. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
yeah. So like I think they play like sometimes on the reckless side, just to say that they made it that far, playing on the edge of their seats.
Eli,
That's fair.
please run Mothership for your group. Please run it for them and report back. They don't have levels in that game. They have a high score, which is the number of sessions your character has survived.
A question real quick about Mothership. That's the one where your character creation is also the tutorial on how to play the game, isn't it? Or am I thinking travel?
The character sheet is the default character sheet is very well made, and the character sheet itself is a flow chart for how to create the character.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Good design.
It's really lovely design. It's quite nice. I'm pretty sure they looked at like actual technical manuals for like how to do that kind of stuff, which would be very on theme for Mothership. It's definitely got that like late 70s, early 80s cassette futurism, like uh, uh, like blue collar technical stuff in space. Rather than the lens flares everywhere, everything is shiny and holograms and force fields.
Pre J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I didn't mean to sidetrack us right there. I was just making sure I had all my things in track.
No, I'm actually
Quest.
starting to I'm actually starting to read the mothership stuff again too, because I'm hoping to spin that up. Actually, I have that Hull Breach anthology. It's like 26 adventures, and I'm starting to get myself re-immersed into it.
Okay.
To play the new first edition that finally came out for Mothership, that is available at least in the work in progress stage.
Nice.
So I may have more space horror to talk about soon.
That's cool. I've got the Traveler Core rulebook open in an Amazon tab, and it's been that way for I don't know a few days now. Been debating it.
Why Traveler? Because I may try to talk you out of it to play something else.
I think Traveler came across a suggestion on a Reddit group, and I excuse me, I don't have access to the Library of Alexandria until they come to a convention. So my best option right now is to purchase it and see what it's about.
Are you looking specifically to play a version of Traveler, or are you looking for a solid kind of space tramp sci-fi game?
Realistically, add to my collection of games I'm probably never going to play and maybe glean something out of it that might be interesting.
Okay. I want to put equal weight for you to check out Stars Without Number.
Yeah, we've talked about that one before, haven't we, on the show?
Yeah. It is very explicitly sort of in the lineage of Traveler. Like it directly took its inspiration for its skill system for a 2d6 skill system, of what's otherwise a 1d20 game, from it. But I actually think that Stars of That Number may have even more stuff for you to generate new material from, based on its like planet and system and world and plot creation stuff in it. So
Okay.
I will always shill for Stars of That Number, or most anything Kevin Crawford writes.
They're pretty interchangeable, honestly. If you have Stars Without Number or Traveler, you can use material for both.
100%.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the beginning, the Traveler and Stars with Number both have like conversion guides at the very beginning for converting all the dice to different dice systems. At least in some of the
Nice.
older Traveler stuff I've got.
I don't think that's in Stars of That Number, but the Stars of That Number system is simple enough that it would not be difficult to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it basically just like converts dice values up into different dice sizes. Roughly
Nice.
changes some probabilities, but
That's all right. I dig it. Like I've been looking for ways to amplify my games with other content from other systems. And
Like thematically, or just looking at other mechanical systems to bring in that might zero in on a feel.
a
I
little
think
bit of
both
both.
are important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. For instance, I love Morkborg, for example, and um, I've talked about it before. And just getting through the book is kind of hard because it's chaotic, but it's awesome. Their their rule set, their rule system is super light, super
Yeah.
simple, and their random tables and charts for absolutely everything can blend into just about any game that you need a random table chart for that fits that semi similar theme. Um, so I've been taking those kind of elements, kind of hacking them up and putting them where I need them. That's really like again, that's why I keep buying systems I will probably never play.
Reading new stuff is always a
Yeah,
great way
yeah.
to expand your mind as a GM, to expand yourself as a player, just to get an idea of like what else is out there. So I wholeheartedly support that. But read as much as you have the time and the energy to read, for sure.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. And I know we're talking about reading the like core rule books and whatnot, but I think that also applies to general popular media as well, novels, etc.
Oh yeah,
Even
steal
to
from
watching
everything.
movies.
Absolutely.
That's fun. I love that you say that. My art instructor when I was in college did the same thing. Steal everything.
Yeah, recently they start the RPG game on Thursday, the Traveler game I'm in. The GM was
You're
explicitly
playing Traveler right now. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, which version are you playing?
I think it's the Mongoose second printing.
Is that the most recent one? That sounds like the most.
I think so.
Okay.
So. but explicitly the GM was like, "Has anyone read this book? Don't until we're done with the campaign."
Nice.
But no reason. Don't worry about it. Don't read it though.
Nice. That's funny. I think after you're into the hobby for so long, you kind of run into that more often than you would think. Um, it's happened with one of my good friends who's a DM, kind of the permanent forever DM before I jumped in, and he would always be like, "Nope, this is pulling from here. You know, if you don't know it, read up on it if you want to. Otherwise, don't if you want it to be a surprise." So,
I should do it more often, honestly. I focus too much on trying to, do all the work and try to put it all together myself. It's exhausting. I should steal more stuff.
oh, dude, it is. And do you sit down to watch movies a lot?
I love movies. Yeah, I watch them when I can, for sure.
All right. One of the more recent Marvel movies I'm trying to remember, Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness. Have you seen that one?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
Eli, you seen that one?
Yeah,
I liked
Okay,
parts of it. I liked most of it.
I agree. But I remember I was watching that, and there's a scene that they show in the trailer where the camera's panning up the mountain, and it gets to a large chamber, throne room essentially with stone golems.
Yeah.
As I was watching that, I couldn't help but figure out a way to narrate descriptively just through my words that same evocative feel. So anytime I steal what I can, because we could all describe Darth Vader, we're all going to draw somebody different from the words that described him. So that's what I tell people. Take it, just describe it the best way you can.
I'm not too worried about the theft. You take the idea,
Yep.
but once it passes through the gears in your head, it's going to come out in a different shape. It's always going to come out with
Yep.
a different pressing on it. So don't sweat it too much. As long as you're not sitting there trying to be like, I must reproduce this exactly as it was in this medium.
We're not condoning copyright infringement or
No.
actual theft.
No, not at all.
Steal, children. Take things that aren't yours.
This is intellectual theft, theft of ideas.
We're not making it any better right now. Hopefully everybody's on board though. They know what we're talking about.
Do it, little ones. Put them in secret places where no one will find them.
Let that sink in for a minute.
I read a lot of science fiction anthologies.
Do you?
Because a lot of them are like short stories, novelettes, but then they usually also have like random science articles and how to like use science in your sci-fi RPGs.
It's interesting.
They not in RPGs. They're writing it for using sci-fi and writing science fiction. But
Right.
I read it for RPGs.
Right. That's fair. I like a lot of older pulp style characters. And when I was at Gen Con earlier this year, I was able to sit down and listen to a panel on why pulp is really coming back. And it connected. It made me realize that it's the love of developed characters that you don't necessarily know about their background. They don't character build. They tell you you need to know.
Is pulp coming back?
Yeah, it is.
I'd say so, yeah.
Oh,
It's absolutely. And I mean,
Did Goodman Games run this thing?
I don't know.
Okay, if they were talking, so Goodman Games currently, the DCC people, they have something called Tales from the Magician's Skull, which is very explicitly an anthology of pulp, like sword and sorcery stories that they are like soliciting authors for to put together. But I actually do think that I think it's coming back. I hope it is. I want to believe it is.
Well, absolutely. We look at some of our favorite characters are pulp style characters. I mean, they come in, they're kind of the guy who does stuff, and um, you don't know if they have a particular set of skills until they need it, and they do or don't. That's really
I
one
think
of
we
the.
could do an entire episode on what is pulp. What is a pulp character?
I think we
I don't know.
absolutely should.
Oh boy!
Side
I was about to say
quests.
I don't know if I'm qualified to say that, but I can pretend.
Well,
I know math.
Objects of negative mass. Craig got
We
us
already
with
did that one.
one
We already did
episode
that
once. Yeah, no, doing the pulp thing. Once you understand that idea about the main character in pulp, you kind of, especially when it comes to RPGs, because people are trying to bridge that gap between pulp novels or short stories and find a way to bring that into they're games, and DMs have a hard time doing it because pulp novels generally tend to revolve around one main character, and your party is multiple main characters who comprise a main group. Um, so it's I think we can talk about that for sure. I mean, Indiana Jones, pulp character, Conan, Batman, anybody who has the same iconic style and feel. And then there are genres of pulp that you get into, noir and whatnot. Um,
The weird part is when you end up getting players who actually don't have that shared cultural capital when they,
that's true.
like, look, I have plenty of players who haven't read any Conan, and that's fine, but they like might not be super familiar with Indiana Jones. I mean, Batman, they know who he is, but they're not going to be like, yeah, I know what a noir detective story looks like. Like, it's one
Right.
thing to say, like, oh yeah, he fights the Joker. That's Heath Ledger, right? It's like not this. That's not the same thing. It's good, but it's not it.
Right.
And what their conception of a hero is in the story when they're playing one, or at least a protagonist.
I think
So
protagonist is the
bridging
right
that
word.
gap is important. So yeah, no, maybe that could be fun for another episode.
I think
Talk
so.
about
Maybe we can do a little bit of research on that one. Discuss it before we hit
Yeah, what
record.
about this episode, huh?
What about
this
this
episode? I don't
This
know,
has
man.
done great. Every one
We
of our
already
episodes
gave
is amazing.
Travis a shout out, didn't we? We already-
What it was Travis, right? No, it was Trent.
Trent?
It's Trent.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Well, one of us has to have a friend named Travis now.
Shout out Travis.
Hey, Travis. Thanks for listening.
So, what are you going to stat up the mold tea as? That's the question. Are they going to be drinking bleach? Is they going to just have itchy throats? What's the deal? What are you going to do?
I don't know if I've decided.
A cumulative stacking effect based on how much they drink over a certain period of time.
Yeah. I think I'm probably gonna go with what the character hopes, modified by whatever their if they try to prepare it in any sort of way. So
Do you drink tea?
yeah.
Do you drink loose leaf tea?
Yeah.
Do you like Lapsang Souchong tea?
That
No,
look on your
no
face.
idea.
All right. So I wish you could see the look on his face. So Lapsang Souchong is a
Yeah, we all know that.
it's a smoked green tea. You can pick it up. It's not so weirdly rare that you're never going to be able to find it, but it is tea that, as far as I can tell, basically smells and tastes like a campfire. So if you're playing in person and you want to give your players a bit of a tactile experience, go get some of that. Don't put mold in it, but they won't forget a big steeped pot of Lapsang Souchong, and you can ask them, "Oh, are you into that?"
You know what? If they're in a dirty part of the slums, they won't forget shit in your chair either.
Oh my god!
I mean,
The real difficulty is the person that's making the tea is a microbiologist. So, like,
oh, got
shoot.
slow drip over horn
Yeah.
coal. 3 hours later. All right.
But no, I'm excited for next session.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you're excited. I want to hear more about it because one of my hopes is if he really goes this route and likes it, I want him to retire as a yellow mold farmer so he can tea it.
Yeah, I want to know what the body count is personally, but I'll hear your story.
Yeah.
I'll bring both.
Yeah. Now, speaking of body counts, before we end here, I talked about
Oh my god!
the Paracula Mortis flag in my game. And Craig, you wanted to hear a little bit about it when it was first used. And it was first used this last week. And
This is the
resounding.
the death flag rule,
The
right?
death
When you
flag.
said that name, I thought you were still referring back to the uncooked rice thing. I was
No.
like, okay, he's bringing back the rice death.
No. I should
Okay,
probably-
what happened with the death flag?
Anyhow, so 2 of my players out of 7 couldn't make it out of a table of 5. 3 used it, 2 did not. One of the ones who had was on death's door. I was making their stabilization rolls for them secretly, so they weren't sure. It came down to where they had a 50-50% chance of death or survival, and they luckily survived by the skin of their teeth. One of the other players absolutely constantly forgot to use the bonus, and other than that, it was incredibly uneventful.
Even
How did the
with
bonus
flag on
play
the
out?
table? They just like plunk the flag down. They're like, whatever.
Yeah, so my flag, I think I had showed you on the front, it says Paracula Mortis. It is the tarot card of 10 swords. And on the back, it explicitly says when you play this, put it in front of you, you get 1d6 extra on every die roll you make in combat.
You can lead a player to a horse trough, but you can't make them drink yellow mold tea, I guess.
Nope.
No matter how many D6s it gives them.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So I'll give you updates in a few weeks when it goes better. Eli, you were gonna
Did
say?
those D6s, did they feel impactful? Or how they do?
D6 has saved some people's ass a few times,
Good.
whether it was before a save or to make an attack, etc. What they really liked is the fact that I had to also tell them, explain them in a way where it's like, hey, you're like it's kind of like you're always getting the rogue's sneak attack ability with 1d6 on damage, and then you're getting that same bonus to hit them, and you're getting that same bonus when you're doing a skill check. So you are always doing 1d6 better. One of our players hated it because she rolled nothing but ones every time she rolled it.
Of course.
So, but
One
it was
more,
good.
one more than otherwise.
I thought so. You guys have any words of advice to say? Our what's it called? Outro, exit, as we come to a close.
If you like low fantasy, check out HarmQuest. They've got great material.
Can you send a link to that and we'll put it in the description?
Sure.
Sweet.
Lapsang Souchong is delicious. You should try some if you like tea. It's real good. You don't have to be looking for a weird sensory equivalent to deadly fungus tea.
Not like a campfire. Drink that tea.
It's really good, seriously.
It's not very long. I have it left. Share. Anyhow, check us out on epictablegames.com or send us a voice message through Spotify. We'll see you next time.